First Tin's vision is to provide sustainable and reliable tin production from zero-waste mines in Germany and Australia. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by First Tin's CEO, Thomas Bünger. Thomas, it's great to see you. To start with, can you please provide a brief introduction on First Tin?
First Tin is a junior tin mine developer with a portfolio that contains two very advanced projects, one in Germany, Tellerhäuser, about 2 hours, 200 kilometers south of Berlin, and the other one, Taronga, about 4 hours drive south of Brisbane. We are situated in Tier 1 jurisdiction, so our first USP is that we will provide tin from conflict-free sources into the demand of the world for tin, where the demand is driven by renewable energy trends and microelectronics, etc.
I guess it may surprise some investors that tin was the best performing metal of last year, 2021. Some commentators say that was because there was a demand shock. What do you think is driving that?
The tin price is driven from the supply-demand balance. So that's always true. Nevertheless, there has been a demand shock, like you mentioned, during the course of the last 1.5 to 2 years, because it was a huge demand in order to use tin in its major application, because more than 50% of today's tin is used as solder that joins together all electrical and electronic connections. So to say it in a nutshell, without tin, there is no electromobility, there is no mobile phone, there is no renewable energy, no PV panel, nothing if we don't have tin. And all of those aspects of industry have been rising during the course of the last 2-3 years. But what we see as well is that there is a further demand into the future. So there are forecasts that are telling us that the world needs another 100,000 tons per year of tin in order to fuel all the requested applications like renewable energy topics, PV panels, windmills, but as well microelectronics. So there has been published during the course of the last few weeks that there is an investment push of more than $600 billion into the microelectronic industry to overcome the supply shortages that all of us have seen if we take a look into the lead time for electrical and electronic gadgets, or even into automotive industry. So that is driven, and that drives as well the demand in tin.
Okay, so constrained supply, limited, potential additional production and rampant demand. That's the backdrop. How do First Tin's projects stack up in terms of being able to meet these challenges?
The two most advanced projects that we own, Tellerhäuser and Taronga. For the Tellerhäuser project, we own a scoping study. And for Taronga, we own a pre-feasibility study. And what we are doing now is to start into really a good planned and scheduled program to generate for both bankable definitive feasibility study, and in parallel of that, we apply for the construction and operational permits in Germany, in Saxony, as well as in Australia for Taronga. That process, that combined process, will take about 2.5 to 3 years to get the mines, to get the projects from the today's status into an investment ready one. And if we look a bit further down the road, then the next step as well, so the investment, if everything goes well, we expect for Tellerhäuser and Taronga the first tin production in 2025. So that's really the shortest path towards production of tin. And the two assets, Tellerhäuser and Taronga, are identified by an independent organization, by the International Tin Association, as those ones that are the most advanced ones and those ones that are identified to enter into production as soon as possible to fuel the supply chain in 2025. And we have a number of other projects, so there might be as well the case that the third project will then kick into production in the time between 2025 and 2030. All of them will generate, each of them will generate something like 3,000 tons of tin content, so that we start to produce 2 times 3,000 tons of tin content in concentrate means 6,000 tons of tin content from 2025 onwards, and maybe another 3,000 tons to increase to 10,000 tons in total until 2030.
Tell me more about the Tellerhäuser project. What are the near-term plans?
We started already into the generation of the documents for the permitting process. So we have already done the 4 seasons monitoring for the environmental impact assessment. We are now in the process to conclude out of the findings and then to apply to enter into the operational permitting and into the construction permitting process. While you should know that for Tellerhäuser, for instance, we own already a 50-year mining license. So this is now the operational permitting process. The next step is then as well the DFS to improve the findings and to detailize the findings out of the scoping study, so that we expect that we can start with the construction of the decline, the construction of the new mine access around 2024 to reach 2025. And what you should know as well, that the Tellerhäuser project, the coming Tellerhäuser mine, is not a unique event in the region. So we are situated in a region that is called Erzgebirge in German, and it literally translates into all mountains. So there's a very, very long history of mining, more than 850 years of history, where people are very proud of. So there is a welcome culture for mining as well, which supports for sure coming from the communities and the politics as well to re-establish state-of-the-art mining with our Tellerhäuser project in Germany and in Saxony.
And I guess it's where you're from, so it's in your sort of backyard. But what about Taronga? You purchased that from an Australian listed company last year in 2021, and some say that the project has been neglected in the past. What do you plan to do with the project to create value for shareholders?
Taronga is really a very, very interesting project. And like everywhere in tin production, what matters there most is mineralogy. What means mineralogy? That the main tin containing mineral called cassiterite, which is a tin oxide, where the crystals are big enough to recover them and in a simple structure. And all of that is the case for Taronga. And we really wonder why this project has not been developed during the course of the last years. Okay, doesn't matter. Now we own it, and we are sure that this is one of the simplest tin projects to be developed. So we are really happy and really proud that we were able to acquire it. What are we going to do? In difference to our German project, Taronga will become an open pit mining. So our geologists have been walking there around, so you can see the ore body from the top. Has been very, very well described, and the pre-feasibility study as well provides already the flow chart for the processing facility. What we are going to do there now is as well same strategy like in Germany. definitive visibility study and in parallel the permitting procedure, while we expect that due to the reason that Taronga is situated in New South Wales, where the authorities are, I would say, regularly used to those permitting procedures. So that's the reason why very sure that we will get Taronga until 2024 through the permitting and the divisibility study. And if we look beyond then doing the investment to get Taronga 2025 into production, we can't decide yet which of our assets will be the first one to enter into production, and naturally there will be one. Nevertheless, we run the processes in parallel in order to generate that chance for us to decide then later on which one we put more emphasis to get it earlier in production than the other one. Nevertheless, Taronga is a very, very good asset, a very, very advanced one. And it contains really a very, very good mineralogy that provides us the option to produce very, very clean tin concentrates as well, which is very beneficial for the later downstream processing to make tin out of the cassiterite concentrate. Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's worth noting that the pre-feasibility study that was done on Taronga was in 2014. So at today's prices, I'm sure it's going to be compelling to see. Moving along, tell me about the team. Do you have the experience to execute on all these ambitious plans that you've been telling us about?
Yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to attract a very, very experienced team, because besides the very interesting and promising assets, it needs money. Yes, okay, this is what we have reached now, but even more, it needs people to realize the project. And this is the most important part of realizing projects, to have the right people on board. And I'm really happy that I have managed to get the right people on board. So there we have, for instance, to name a few of them, we have Tony Truelove, called as when Tin Jesus Truelove, because he is one of the very, very experienced geologists. And he is as well old enough that he has been doing geological findings and geological work already in the past, looking for tin assets. So he is our technical director. I'm very happy that we have him on board. And we have Mark Thompson, our commercial development director, very, very long-term experienced person. So he was a tin trader in the past with Trafigura. So he holds and managed the biggest tin book in the past. So he knows about all the commercial aspects that needs to take into account. We have Rob Kidd, our project manager in Australia. That's a very unique person, because he has developed and run and operated his own tin mine in the past. So he knows how to do that, how to develop a mine and how to run it. So he is managing our project there. And we have Ron Goodman, who is the to-go-to person for all aspects of tin ore, of tin mineral processing, who stayed his whole career in the tin processing. So everybody in the tin world that has any problem with processing tin minerals goes to Ron, and we were able to attract him to join forces, to come into our team, to guide us and to help us with the processing. And in Germany, we have Marco Roscher, a geologist from the local university, in the team since a very long time. So he knows all the details about the mineralogy in a wider aspect in the Erzgebirge region, and in particular for sure about our ore body. And his specific capability is big data mining, another one mining, but he can deal with all those drilling data and the generation of models for the ore body. That's his main capability. And he is running the team here in Germany. And due to the reason that we have two different teams, very well interconnected, but two different teams. That's the main reason why I'm confident that we can realize the two DFS and the two permitting procedures in parallel. So having experienced people in the two teams interconnected to exchange experience, but that's the main reason why I'm very confident that we can do the job very properly, because I don't know any better people in the tin world. If not we will make it, who else?
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a bit of an all-star tin team. But what about your background? You haven't touched on that. Can you tell us about your background?
I'm a metallurgist by profession, so I extend the knowledge in the team on the downstream side. So I know what is important for the further processing. But looking a bit further, the last 16 years, I worked for Aurubis, Europe's largest copper and non-ferrous metal producer. I worked there the last few years as COO and CTO, responsible for all the operations and the technology development as a member of the executive board. So I'm used to all the aspects of the commodity market, as well as constructing and running big companies. So I cover the overall management skills as well, the knowledge from the commodity markets as well. And I'm very used to another aspects to the execution of permitting procedures, because for a few of us, it's rather a pain, a permitting procedure. For me, it's a pleasure. So I managed all of the larger permitting procedures for Aurubis during the course of the last years successfully. The last one for a fully enclosed smelter in the middle of the city of Hamburg, so really called a downtown smelter. If you can manage that, you can manage as well a mine permitting procedure. So I'm well aware about the challenges, and I'm sure that we will manage that.
And you mentioned the strong demand that you had for the IPO. What can those investors that invested in the IPO, but also investors that might be thinking of coming in on the secondary market, what can they expect from First Tin in the near term? What's coming up?
We have raised a £20 million in order to finance the next steps. And the already mentioned ones were the feasibility studies and the permitting procedures. So we have reserved all in all £13 million to run the permitting and the DFS studies for both assets. So that's the necessary investment into becoming the assets investment ready. In parallel, we have reserved £6 million for further drilling programs. By the way, we have been drilling on our German exploration license, Gottesberg, the last few weeks since the middle of November until yesterday. Quite recently, we finished our drilling procedure, but the next one in another drilling exploration license at exploration license named Auersberg is in preparation. So that will start within the next few weeks, and we prepare as well a drilling program for our Australian asset for Taronga, and even more around Taronga. Our geologists identified a few very, very interesting areas where there are more further outcrops of tin mineralization, completely undrilled so far. So with the drilling program where we have reserved 6 million, we expect that we will generate a decent news flow that will as well add to the value of the company, that will become mirrored most probably as well in the share price, in parallel to the market impact, where we expect that the tin price that we see today, if we look into forecasts from independent parties, they don't see a downturn. We expect a tin price in the region where we are right now, which is supportive as well for the enterprise value.
Okay. And do you have any other secondary listings planned?
We will do a secondary listing, a co-listing at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, which is very, very supportive, in particular for the retail markets. During the course of the second part of the year, or a few months later, we consider a further listing in Australia. Time will show us when that will happen, because that's a huge workload, and we need first to focus onto the maturation and the development of the company, because that provides value to the investors, and then do the next step for a listing in Australia at the ASX as well.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas, thank you for your time today. Are there any parting words you'd like to leave investors with?
I'm really proud of the package, and I'm happy that I can provide you investors that very, very promising, very, very interesting investment opportunity into the tin market in general and into First Tin in particular. I invite you to join us to develop the company and to provide tin to the world, and to provide as well benefits to the investors during the course of the next year.
Thank you, Thomas. Can't wait to follow your progress.